What's up, Pathfinder players? Welcome back to another Team Player Gaming video. Today, I'm continuing my spell series with 4th and 5th level spells. Like I said before, I'm only going to be covering the ones that I think are the best for teamwork of those spells. So let's just dive right into it. I'm going to start with 4th level spells and Chromatic Armor. You can spend 2 or 3 actions on this spell. It has a range of touch and targets one willing creature. The spell lasts for 1 full minute. When a creature is adjacent to the target and attacks it, the attacker must make a will saving throw. On a failure, it becomes dazzled until the end of its next turn. However, regardless of its save result, the attacker is immune to this spell until the end of its next turn. Also, when you cast this spell, roll a d8 twice and compare it to the table that this spell provides. The target gains resistance 5 to the damage type associated with what you rolled. If you spent 3 actions on this spell, roll 3 times. A 1 is fire resistance, a 2 is acid resistance, a 3 is electricity resistance, and a 4 is poison resistance. Also, a 5 is sonic resistance, a 6 is mental resistance, and a 7 is force resistance. If you roll an 8 on the d8, then the armor becomes the color matching the type of damage the target took most recently in the past minute. If it didn't take any of the 7 previous damage types, or the armor is already that color, re-roll, ignoring results of 8. Heightening the spell by 3 levels increases the resistance by 5. For this spell, I would say that the Dazzle effect is very good. Again, Dazzle is a condition that not many people think about, but actually helps a lot. That being said, the second part of this spell is pretty situational. Unless you get lucky and roll exactly what you need, the resistance probably isn't going to apply very much. Or, you happen to roll an 8. Some aspects of this spell may be situational, but it's still one of the best teamwork spells in Secrets of Magic at 4th level. Mirror's Misfortune is a very good spell. It sort of combines Mirror Image and a Curse. Essentially, when you cast this spell, you can take a step. Then either in your initial square or any square adjacent to you, an exact illusory duplicate of yourself appears. You decide a very simple course of action for your duplicate to follow, such as moving to a certain spot or waving its hands in the air. More complex actions are beyond its abilities. A creature can only distinguish between you and the duplicate by spending an action to seek and succeeding on a perception check against your spell DC. If a creature takes hostile action against the duplicate, it shatters into mirror-like shards. When it does this, the attacker must make a will saving throw. When the duplicate shatters, the spell ends. On a successful save, they are unaffected. On the failure, within the next hour, the creature must roll its next 2 attack rolls twice and take the lower result. If the attacker critically fails on their will save, then within the next hour, the creature must roll its next 4 attack rolls twice and take the lower result. This spell is actually pretty insane. In some situations, you may actually want the boss to shatter your duplicate, so that there's a chance that they'll have to roll at least their next 2 attack rolls twice and take the lower results. In other words, this spell can give a boss disadvantage from 5e on 4 attack rolls. I mean, yes, you lose your duplicate if they attack it, but you gain something even better. And the spell lasts for a full minute. The best part is, this spell doesn't say melee attacks or ranged attacks. It says any hostile action. You want to cast the fear spell on me? Okay, but if you hit my duplicate, then guess what? You're re-rolling your next 4 attack rolls, potentially. Overall, great spell that I think will probably be underused. Murderous Vine is another great teamwork option for primal casters. It takes 2 actions to cast and targets one creature that is adjacent to a flat surface within 60 feet. The spell lasts for 1 minute. Make a spell attack roll against the target's Fortitude DC. On a success, the target is grabbed and takes 3d6 bludgeoning damage and 2d8 piercing damage. At the end of that creature's turn, if it's still grabbed by the vine, it takes 2d6 additional bludgeoning damage. The vine's escape DC is equal to your spell DC. A creature can attack the vine in an attempt to break its grip. The vine's AC is equal to your spell DC, and it's destroyed if it takes 20 or more points of damage. Destroying or escaping from the vines ends the spell. Heightening this spell by 2 levels increases all the damage by 1 dice. This means that druids can now grab people. Use it on the right person, and they're taking damage every turn, plus they're grabbed, which means they're flat-footed to everyone. Plus the fact that the escape DC is your spell DC makes it even better. At high levels, it could be very difficult to escape from this vine or destroy it. Destroying or escaping from the vines may end the spell, but either way they're wasting an action that they could spend attacking you, or another one of your party members. And your GM almost has to spend the action to escape from this spell, because otherwise they're taking damage every turn and they're flat-footed against everyone. Painful Vibrations is another one of those spells that does damage and has a really good effect on a failed save. It takes 2 actions to cast and targets 1 living creature within 100 feet. The target takes 8d6 sonic damage and must make a Fortitude saving throw. If they critically succeed, nothing happens. If they succeed, they take half damage. On a failed save, they take full damage and are sickened 1 and deafened for 1 round. If they happen to critically fail their save, they take double damage, become sickened 2, and deafened for 1 minute. Heightening this spell by 1 spell level increases the damage by 2d6. There are very few spells out there, and effects in general, that can cause the sickened condition. Sickened is just like frightened except for one major difference. Frightened goes down every turn. Sickened does not. The only way they're getting rid of the sickened condition is by spending an action retching. And they're also deafened on a failed save as well, which is great against spellcasters. Alright, time for the last 4th level feat I want to cover in this video. Tortoise and the Hare. This spell targets 1 foe and either yourself or 1 ally. If you target an ally, then the foe and that ally must both be within 30 feet of you. The foe must make a Fortitude saving throw. On a critical success, nothing happens as usual. On a success, the foe is slowed 1 for 1 round, but the other target is unaffected. On a failed save, the target is slowed 1 for 3 rounds, and the other target is quickened for 1 round. If the foe critically fails their save, then they are slowed 1 for 3 minutes. Also, the other target is quickened for 1 minute. Any extra action gained from this spell can only be used to step, stride, or strike. This spell is essentially the slow spell and the haste spell in one. Granted, this spell can't hit multiple targets like haste and slow can, but this is a good thing to put on the boss, most definitely. Especially if the boss happens to have low fortitude saves. Alright, now let's cover some good teamwork 5th level spells. I want to start with Aberrant Form. This is another form spell, so I'm not going to go into too much detail on this spell. But you can transform into a Chul, a Gogatek, a Gug, or an Otiug. With this spell, the ones you want to transform into are a Chul or a Gogatek. These 2 forms both have the grab ability from the bestiary. That means if they hit, they can spend an action to auto-grab, which, as I've said many times, makes them flat-footed to everyone. The other 2 forms are okay in certain situations, but those 2 are the best ones, by far. The next spell I want to talk about at 5th level for this video is Blessing of Defiance. You can spend anywhere from 1 to 3 actions on this spell, and it has a range of 30 feet. It lasts for 1 round. The target of this spell depends on how many actions you spend on it. When you cast this spell, choose 1 type of saving throw. Fortitude, Reflex, or Will. The target gets a +4 status bonus to that saving throw for the full round. If you use 1 action on this spell, then it targets you or 1 willing ally within range. If you use 2 actions on this spell, then the spell still targets you or 1 ally within range. However, if you choose Fortitude, the target gains resistance 15 to poison. If you choose Reflex, the target gains a 15-foot status bonus to its speed. And if you choose Will, the target gains resistance 15 to mental damage. If you spend 3 actions on this spell, the spell targets you and all willing allies within 30 feet. A +4 to any saving throw you want is very good. Yes, it's only for 1 round. But if you choose Fortitude, that can help an ally get rid of a poison or a disease. If you choose Reflex, then the target is more likely to crit succeed against that fireball. There's also a lot of really debilitating spells that require will saves. Plus, if you spend 2 actions on the spell, they get a nice little bonus, on top of that +4 to their save. You may want to cast this spell just for that nice little bonus on the 2-action version. Especially that bonus for Reflex. I mean, think about it. That gives an elf a speed of 45 feet for a round. For an elf mage, that can be huge. If you're a divine or primal caster, you may want to pick this up if you can cast 5th level spells. Now it's time for my favorite spell of this video, Forceful Hand. This spell is insane. If you're building an arcane or occult caster towards teamwork, this is an almost must-have spell. So what does it do? This hand summons a medium-sized floating disembodied hand in an unoccupied space adjacent to you. The spell can be sustained for up to 1 minute, and each time you do, you can move the hand up to 60 feet. You can choose to protect yourself or an ally with this hand. The enemy can attack the hand, and it has AC 25, 50 hit points, and it can't recover HP by any means. A hit by a disintegrate spell or a similar effect destroys the hand. The hand's actions depend on what actions you took during your turn. At the end of your turn, what the hand does is determined by the first entry on the list that matches any trait from any of the actions you used during your turn. For example, if you step, stride, and then sustain the spell, you use the entry for move actions, so the hand provides that benefit. If you use a manipulate or attack action, the hand provides lesser cover against all attacks that pass through the hand's square. If you use a move action, the hand provides standard cover. If you use a concentrate action, the hand provides greater cover. Heightening this spell increases the AC and hit points of the hand, and it gives you extra options on what you can do with it. Heightening this spell to 6th level allows you to replace the hand's manipulate or attack option with the SWAT option. With the SWAT option, the hand flies to an enemy of your choice and attempts to push that enemy using your spell attack roll instead of an athletics check. Heightening this spell to 7th level allows you to replace the hand's manipulate or attack option with grasp or SWAT. With the grasp option, the hand flies to an enemy of your choice and attempts to grapple that enemy using your spell attack roll instead of an athletics check. Heightening this spell to 8th level adds punch to your options. The hand flies to the enemy of your choice and attempts to strike it. Its strikes use your spell attack modifier and deal 78 points of force damage. The hand's strikes don't use or contribute to your multiple attack penalty. Heightening this spell to 9th level adds Crush to your options. With Crush, if the hand doesn't have the target grabbed, it flies to an enemy of your choice and attempts to strike that enemy. The hand's strikes are melee spell attacks that deal 68 force damage. They don't take or contribute to your multiple attack penalty. On a successful strike, the target is grabbed by the hand until the end of your next turn, unless the hand moves or the target successfully escapes. Escape attempts use your spell DC. However, if the hand already has a target grabbed when it uses Crush, it instead constricts the target, dealing 68 force damage with a basic Fortitude save. Casting this spell at 9th level gives you so many options, it's actually ridiculous. And the only one that isn't good for teamwork really is the Punch, because that just does damage. But if you need to do damage, there you go. It is kind of situational, because it does depend on what you do during your turn. But since pretty much all the options are good for teamwork, it really doesn't matter what you do during your turn. The hand is going to do something good for teamwork. Next is Healing Well. This spell is really good if you're in a defensive situation, like you're trying to protect something. This spell creates a well of healing within 30 feet that lasts for 1 minute. At any time during the duration, if you or an ally are right next to the well, you can make an interact action to tap into the well's power, recovering 48 hit points. When the well has been tapped 5 times, the spell ends. The well is made of energy, so creatures can move through it or even end their turn in its space. If you use an ability that increases the amount of healing this spell grants, that increase only applies to the first time someone taps the well. Heightening this spell by 1 level increases the healing by 3 points of damage. If you're trying to protect someone or something and you need to stay in one place, this is a great option. If you need healing, just go back to where the well is and end your turn in the space. The best part is, only you and your allies can use it. If anyone else tries to, nothing happens. Let's be honest, it's better if you're in a defensive position than trying to protect something. The last spell I want to cover for this video is Mirror Malefactors. This spell targets one creature within 30 feet and can be sustained for up to 1 minute. This spell only works on large or smaller creatures. You summon mirrors that surround your target. These mirrors reflect the target, though if the target has no reflection like a vampire, it's unaffected. As long as it is surrounded by the mirrors, it's frightened 1 and it can't reduce its frightened value. When you cast this spell, the reflections from the mirrors leap out and attack the target, dealing 78 mental damage with a basic will save. On each turn after this effect repeats the first time you sustain the spell that turn. If the target succeeds at any will save it attempts against this spell, the illusory mirrors shatter and the spell ends. Heightening this spell increases the damage for both the initial and the subsequent turns by 1d8. What makes this spell good isn't the damage. What makes it good for teamwork is that they're frightened 1 and they can't reduce it. And the way I read it is that if you can somehow make them frightened 2 or 3, they can't reduce that either. This spell is especially good on targets with low will saves. The best part about this spell, though, is that outside attacks don't grant them another will save. Also, the target may decide to waste actions trying to attack the mirrors, which are illusory, so nothing happens. I mean, yes, if they succeed on the save, the spell ends. But you know what? That's why you use this spell on enemies that have low will saves. And don't forget, Recall Knowledge can tell you what their lowest save is. And that's going to wrap up this video. Are there other good teamwork spells of these levels? Yes. However, these are the best ones that I found. The other spells just didn't do enough from the teamwork standpoint, or were just too situational. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more Pathfinder 2nd Edition teamwork content. You can also check me out on Facebook and on Twitter. But if you really want to support me, you can pledge to me on Patreon. Links are in the description. So until next time, remember, teamwork is vital.